All right, hello class. In this video, we're going to start to add some sort of finishing touches to the landscaping, just a way to practice some more Photoshop stuff. In this video, I'm going to do actually a path to the building. Obviously, there's some doors in this. There's a way to get there. It's going to just practice a few more tricks. This video, got to pay attention to the details. I'll tell you that. But it'll be fun. So we're going to make a path. So I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my grass layer, my ground plane layer, and make a new layer right above that. I'm just going to call it path. Oops, I missed. There we go, path. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by actually using some vector tools. So I'm going to come up to my pen tool right here, and I'm just going to draw across the top of my screen because I'm going to use perspective to get this into place. I'm going to click up here. I'm going to move to the left, click and hold and pull to get it curvy, and then come down to about this position, click and hold and pull to get a curvy path, and then click down here. So we sort of get an S shape. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my paintbrush. I just want to make sure I've got sort of a hard round setting set because I'm going to have to give this a stroke here. And I'm going to go back to my pen tool. And I'm going to right click over top of that path. I'm going to say stroke path, and I'm going to set it to my paintbrush because I just looked at the settings to make sure it was okay. And we can see it was pretty small, but if I zoom in, there's that gray line. It's a bit small, so I'm going to have to make this wider, and that's no problem. But I put that on the path. So I will now right click over top of that path again and just delete that path because I don't need the vector work anymore. I just need the Photoshop line. Now watch this. I'm going to actually press Control on my keyboard and hit the icon for that S-shaped shirt. And we see it just selects it all as is. I need to make it a lot wider. So I'm going to go to Select. I'm going to go to Modify and Expand. This works in many cases, and I think I'm going to have to do it a lot. I don't know. I'm going to try 100 and see what happens. Yep, see, there we go. Now it's wider. Actually, I'm going to need it wider than that even. And I can adjust at any point. I just know I think I'm going to need it wider than that. So let's go to expand again. Let's go 200, see what happens. There we go. That, I think, is going to work decently well enough. It's going to be a little weird up here, but I can adjust it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set my color to the color that I want. Maybe it's some stone, so it's a light gray color. Maybe there's a little bit of tans in it. I can come over here if I want to, put a little bit of tan color in it. And I'm just going to fill that S-shaped shape, my foreground color, to give it there. And we can see it's sort of going across the top of my page. It's underneath the building because of this layer position, but we'll take care of that here in a second. Now what we need to do is get this in this shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale. And I'm going to take the top and pull it down. I'm going to hold Shift so it only comes down like this. Okay, and I'm going to sort of move it into place. Now we can see, okay, that's sort of almost looking like a path, but we have to remember this is in perspective. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Perspective. And I'm going to take these bottom corners and I'm going to pull it way out, okay? Now, students usually are afraid to pull this too far out. They just only pull this perspective out a little bit, but if you want this to really work, you gotta pull these quite far out. And I'm going to go back and forth. Okay, that's pretty good, but I'm going to go Edit, Transform, Scale again. I'm going to pull from the bottom so it's off the page to the bottom. I'm going to hold Shift and just pull down. You know, maybe I don't even need that much of a path, but something like this, I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to double click and set it and do Control D. And you can see how wide my path is down here in the bottom of the screen. That's because I made the perspective very, very wide. And that's key to making it look right. Many times they don't have the path wide enough there in the front, but that show you how to use sort of a perspective tool and draw from it. It showed you how to use a vector tool and draw from that. So I think making this path is tricky, even though it's just a couple steps. Now, we do want to do one more thing to this path. So I don't want to say I'm done yet. And that's right now, it's just a single color. Everything should have a little bit of texture. So I'm just going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Noise and add noise. And I'm going to make sure Preview is checked. And, if this is stoned, it's going to have a lot of texture to it. So I'm not going to be afraid of pushing this up too much, just like this. And sort of gives that sense of texture and a bit of a stone path moving across the edge. And there you go. There are a couple fun techniques to make that path.